When I was walking into the parish office the other day, coming across the parking lot, as I came up the steps towards the red door, I noticed that shoots are coming up in the garden bed to the right of the steps. Things are changing again. Spring isn't here yet. Things are stirring. And this is a sign of joy and hope for me, and I hope for you as well. Things are changing. What they will be has not yet fully revealed itself. But with vaccines starting and signs of spring on the way, we have these reminders, these signs that change is coming yet again. One of the gifts of this is that I've begun to receive and to be able to accept requests for pastoral visits. For a while that was very hard to do. People weren't ready. Sometimes it wasn't a good idea. Not everybody's going to be ready at the same time. If you could use a pastoral visit in person, by video call, by telephone, if you know someone who hasn't had a lot of contact, hasn't been able to go to church, and maybe still is best off staying at home a little longer, but would welcome a call or a visit or a card, please let me know. We've done a lot of things to keep in touch. I know that there's always more that we could do. It's such an unusual time. We are approaching, next week will be 1 year from the time we first closed the building for the COVID pandemic. And it's been quite a year, as you may well have noticed. We temporarily closed the building, but with the support of our diocese and the support of the people here and our public health team and the vestry and so many of you, we will be able to reopen the building in mid-July after being closed from the middle of March, April, May, June, after being closed in the building for 4 months. We never missed a worship service because we were online that first Sunday. I know video doesn't reach everybody. Computers don't serve everyone. We tried to do more with pastoral letters, newsletters, phone calls, cards. I'm aware that there's always more that we can do. And where you see opportunities to help people worship God, to help people stay connected, to help people be relieved from the sometimes very real and painful tedium of isolation and disruption. This is part of the mission of the church. Please continue to share that. I've heard from a lot of you, I know a lot of you have reached out and have relationships with one another that don't go through me, which is great. I guess what I'm saying is that change is coming again, and the things that we have done that are of God, that are of love, have served us well, and I believe will continue to serve us well as change continues to unfold. I'll say more about this over the coming weeks, but this week I'm going to reach out to the public health team here in the parish and ask them to sit down with me and the wardens again to look at how we respond to this new wave of change that's showing itself as vaccines begin, as people feel the warmth starting outdoors again and eager to get outdoors and church again. And to reach out to those who are still best off at home because that's the healthiest place for them to be. We've had a great deal of care and faith this past year that's made it possible to worship God, to reopen the building, to hold people together to the extent that it was within our power. My hope is that we bring the same faith and care to this next wave of change as it begins. That we meet it with the same faith and love and communication that we've done so far, that where we can improve, we will, and that we don't trip as we're about to cross the finish line, ending the protective measures of masks, social distancing, and hand sanitizing, and so on, prematurely. And what are the criteria for phasing these things out? What does it mean to make these next set of changes? We started with all those changes very suddenly, all at once, but maybe their phasing out will be incremental. We need to imagine that because I believe it's starting. It won't all happen at once. So if you have thoughts on these changes and the new round of changes and how they unfold in your life and where God is on those, I encourage you to continue to share them with me and with one another. The love and the care that we've brought to this have made a lot of good things possible. When I looked out from this pulpit last week at the 10 o'clock service, there were 34 people in church. That's more than it's been in this church for quite a long time. There's a nice turnout here in the room today as well. There are people at home. But last Sunday, there were 34 people in this church, which up to that point was a high for the year. The other thing that I saw when I looked out from this pulpit last week was that about 28 of those 34 people were not here a year ago. And we had the Boy Scouts with us last week. Our Troop 118 was here. Now, they brought a few scouts and some of the parents, so that was 5 or 6 people. As we come into this new age, how do we keep people together, worshiping God in community, whether they're in the building or not, if they're ready to return to the building now, or maybe not until later? I just ask you to remain intentional and prayerful about this next wave of changes, because clearly something is stirring, even as we're not sure exactly what it is or how long it will take. God is in this and walks with us. Thank you for your prayers and your prayerful actions.